The Trump transition continues to gauge Senate reaction to the possible nomination of ExxonMobil CEO Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. Elaine, Tillerson's close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin have alarmed some Republicans that could jeopardize his confirmation if, in fact, he is nominated.
All right, so Major, given what you just said, how might that change the calculus here for Donald Trump?
Well, it will only change the calculus, I'm told, if there is a substantial and noticeable and numerically significant uprising from Senate Republicans saying, Trump transition, do not go down this road because we're not going to walk along with you on it if Rex Tillerson is the nominee. There hasn't been anything that organized or numerically significant yet. And what the Trump transition team and the president-elect were trying to gauge this weekend was exactly how much blowback there would be for Tillerson. I can tell you there are factions within the Trump transition who are worried about this. Do you put Rex Tillerson up as the nominee only to have him shot down? The truth of the matter is, Elaine, on this pick, for weeks now, there have been factions within the Trump transition favoring Mitt Romney, favoring Rudy Giuliani, some even favoring former CIA Director David Petraeus, and now some favoring Rex Tillerson. Those factions have not come to one mind. No consensus has been achieved. And until there is that consensus that includes the president-elect, there's not going to be a nominee. Now, we've been told over and over again, not only publicly, but by sources who are reaffirming what has been said publicly, this choice will be announced this week. So there is tremendous work moving in that direction, but the Tillerson name could be an elaborate trial balloon. We just don't know. There are a lot of things about the president-elect that are unpredictable, and certainly having an ExxonMobil CEO as your Secretary of State would most dramatically fall into the category of unpredictability. There are all sorts of potential conflicts of interest and other things about Tillerson's history that would make this a complex confirmation battle, to be sure. But he is still the leading contender, and until he either drops out, is eliminated, or opts out, he remains as such.
And fascinating to watch as this process plays out. On another note, Major, Donald Trump's transition has tried to frame the CIA's findings regarding the election and Russian influence as a political play from Democrats who want to question the outcome of the election. But now congressional Republicans are launching investigations based on those findings. Does that undermine at all his argument?
Well, it certainly undermines it to the extent that it's only Democrats asking these questions. Now, Republicans are not saying this changed the election result. They're with the president-elect and his transition team. The election's over. It's been decided. The Electoral College has spoken through the vote of the people, if not the popular vote, and the election is settled. But that doesn't mean Republicans are not curious about this involvement of the Russians, how it may have began, how it was executed, and what was the end result in the course of the election. Not to overturn the outcome, but to learn more about the methodology and intent of the Russians. This is where the Tillerson nomination, should it come for Secretary of State, could also become a little bit more complicated, because if it appears that the Trump transition is disinterested in the Russian involvement in the election and wants someone as Secretary of State with noticeably close ties to the Russians, well, it begins to look a little heavily on the Russian side of the equation. So that's one thing for the Trump transition to deal with and the president-elect to cope with as a matter of explaining whatever the decision is on Secretary of State. As for the Russians, the transition team's efforts to frame this as, you know what, the intelligence community was wrong about the weapons of mass destruction. It could be wrong here. Boy, that treads on some very sensitive terrain for the intelligence community, not because they don't accept the culpability for getting it wrong about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, but the intelligence community believes since then it's gotten a lot more right and doesn't want to be so dismissed so rapidly with what it regards as painful ancient history.
Lastly, Major, Mr. Trump is reportedly now postponing his announcement about how he would handle the future of his businesses, which he'd said would be this week. What do you make of his handling of those questions so far?
Well, those I've talked to who are close to this process understand, and the Trump transition team has been advised, look, you cannot have this press conference twice. You can only have it once, and you better not have it unless you have everything locked down and all of the representations you're going to make about what the president-elect has done with his finances, how that affects his children's finances and their relationship to either advisory roles in the White House or whatever, or in the case of Ivanka Trump, her husband, Jared Kushner, who may be a West Wing advisor to the president. All those things have to be sorted out and put in a legal context and be explainable once and for all. And if that press conference can be done the 15th of December, as the president-elect suggested a couple of weeks ago, then do it. But if it can't, don't go out there with half answers, and don't go out there with only notions about what you may try to accomplish or what's ultimately going to be done. That's the legal and ethical advice the transition team has been given. And I'm told these issues are not resolved, that the legal questions have not been completely wrapped up. And until they are, the transition team doesn't feel it's worthwhile or even acceptable, and certainly from a public relations point of view, defensible, to send the president-elect out there with half answers.
All right, we will wait to see if and when that press conference is rescheduled. Major Garrett, thanks so much.
Thank you.